Today, we're going to talk about a method of acquisition called the money talent takeover. And I'm going to address it today because what's turning out to be one of the primary acquisition strategies and methods that we're actually using very successfully right now. And so I'm going to take you through exactly how you do this because it's a great way to get top talent and big money investors as your acquisition partners. So today we're going to talk about money talent takeover, how to get top talent and big money investors as your acquisition partners in any industry. Now, the more experience you have in a business or a field, the easier it's going to be, but it can be done with somebody who has moderate experience or great experience. It doesn't matter. You really just need to focus on what I'm going to cover here today and make sure this area that I'm going to cover today is the expertise that you develop. We have a number of money talent takeovers in progress right now. One of them is in the agribusiness. One of them is in transportation. One of them is in healthcare, and one of them is in multifamily residential real estate. And I don't know if you can read this real well, but I have a lot of information to put here, so I'll cover it with you, but hopefully you can read it as well. But basically, the one we're doing in agribusiness is taking and merging two companies where there's a much larger company whose owner is retiring and will phase out, while the younger PIBA member owner of the smaller business will take command of a substantially larger business. And his two companies, the smaller one that he has now and this larger one, will then go on, once we've completed this, to form an acquisition platform to do substantial roll-ups in the agribusiness arena, doing both vertical and horizontal acquisitions to build a very substantial agribusiness company that his goal is to take public. This methodology that we're going to cover today is what's enabling him to accomplish this as we speak. Okay, these transactions here are all in progress, all doing incredibly well. The second one is in the transportation area, and that's being done by a PIBA member who is passionate about the jet charter business. He found a top jet charter executive of one of the major jet charter companies out there to partner with, and who PIBA, through us, has connected with a very wealthy investor who also shares a passion for jet travel in particular. In fact, he was contemplating buying a Gulfstream G600. And what he came to realize is that he could, for less money, end up owning a jet charter company and as part of our team here, and have any jet he wants to fly in at any time he wants it. And it will actually be less of an investment for him than what it would cost him to buy a single jet. So that was pretty exciting to him, and he got really behind this project. We're going to explain as we go on how we're doing all this stuff. The third area is healthcare, and here again, a PIBA member passionate about transforming healthcare to become more compassionate, facilitating a more caring and empathetic environment for patients, has built an acquisition team of former CEOs of the very top medical hospitals in the country to acquire hospitals, nursing homes, senior assisted living facilities, home healthcare providers, and what they all have in common is they're all designed to deal with the problem of boomers as they're aging. And as they move from one of these to the other, they usually come into senior assisted living first, or they end up with healthcare at home, where this companies provide nursing and all of that right at a person's home. But then eventually they end up in nursing homes, or they'll end up in the hospital. All of these things have an increasing growth pattern right now because of the boomers. And it's just a great field. He's very passionate about it. And he's put all of these pieces together that I'm going to pull together for you today. And then the last one here is the multifamily residential real estate, where here again, we have a PIBA member who in the last 8 years has amassed ownership of $1 billion in multifamily residential real estate. He's got all these apartments all over the country that he owns. He's pulled together all the investors that have backed him in the process. And he's now sponsoring such acquisitions for the benefit of other Bizar Financing Pro members. So this is something that if you have an interest in property, you might want to pay attention to, because there's some great opportunities here as well. And it's built by the fact that the hardest thing to do when you do these multifamily residential acquisitions of these properties is, of course, getting your first loans, right? Getting your first investors, right? Getting your first deals, because you don't have any experience and you may not have enough money. But when you have a sponsor, they take care of all that. And it's a way to break into the field, get your reputation established, get your credentials, and then quickly position yourself to do these on your own. But without a sponsor who's already been successful in that field, very hard to do this. So we created a kind of a double win here. One is for the PIBA member, who will be part of some deals that will be brought to him that he wouldn't have had otherwise. Not that he needs that, by the way. He's doing very well without this, but there's some benefit to him. But the main benefit is that other people who aspire to do this will have a point of entry as a way to get this done. Anyway, this is what we're working on right now, and they all have a feature of this money talent takeover strategy as part of the process. And so what I'm going to do here is to go through basically what they all have in common. So the first question I would ask you is, what is all these companies that I just mentioned? What do they have in common? And from my descriptions, it may not be obvious, so I'm going to point them out. What they have in common is they all, as a result of how they were pulled together, have partners in them with the money to close the deal. That removes the biggest obstacle to those deals getting done, because the money is now there to get them done. The second thing they have in common is partners who are among the top talent in the industry. So attracted into these transactions that I was showing you before, among them are not only the partner who now has money to put into the deal and make the deal work financially, but the partners who are among the top talent in the industry, whose experience, core competencies, credentials of all types, contacts, everything, all those connect points are there to have a management person who can pull it off, who can actually do it and make it successful. And then the third thing they all have in common is they have a Bizar financing expert, somebody who's an expert on our whole program to orchestrate and negotiate the transaction. So those are the three main things that every single one of those endeavors that I went through, they all have these three things. And the reason that this is important for you is if you want to do this, you just have one role, only one role. And that's to be the Bizar financing expert. And everything you need to be that expert is in our Bizar Financing Pro training. And then the last step of it for you is then to promote yourself as such. In other words, the only thing that you have to do is be that expert and then promote your expertise in the ways that we're going to show you. So that's the plan, folks. That's the plan that can take you into the big leagues. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to cover how do you attract your partners. In other words, if you want money partners, if you want the partners who are the tops in their field, you got to know how you're going to attract those folks, right? And you got to know how you're going to marry them to your transaction, to your business enterprise. So the real questions we're going to try to address today is, if you're going to attract these great folks that'll help you get done what you're going to try to do here, is what do you do first? Where do you find these people? How do you contact them? What to ask them? What to tell them? And what to have ready in order to do all this? All right. Because if you can answer all of those, in effect, questions, okay, if you can know where all of those can be accomplished, there isn't any reason you can't do what I'm going to cover with you today. So now we're going to show you what you're going to have to do to cover all of those areas. And we're going to start with what to do first. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose an industry aligned with your passion, experience, and core competencies and skill sets. I somehow find that's missing here, but skill sets are important too. And so you'll find how to do that right in that section B of the workbook and that part of the course. Because again, I tell people this all the time. If you're going to be successful in business, you really want to come from a place. You want to come from a place that you're happy about what you're going to do, that you'll never work a day in your life because you're doing what you love. And you want to pick a place where you've had experience, where you've got core competencies that are going to serve you well, and you've got skill sets that are going to be very effective for you. Now, that doesn't mean those are all complete, right? Doesn't mean you have enough experience to the ultimate experience. Doesn't mean you have the ultimate in core competencies. Doesn't mean you have the ultimate skill sets. It just means that this is where you're skilled. This is where you're experienced. This is where you're passionate. The rest will come to you, the experience, the core competencies, the improvement of your skill set as you matriculate through this process. Okay. So getting in touch with that is really important. The question then becomes, okay, once you know the business that you're going to go into and you know what it is that you're going to do, then where to find them. We're talking to your partners now, okay? Because the partners are the key to getting this done. The best place we found to find them, and we have yet to strike out in these simple approaches, is LinkedIn. Very powerful. Doing the searches there, you can get an upgraded membership if it requires more research into their database. But LinkedIn has anybody and everybody you want. Another place to find them is in industry publication, right? Every industry that you would be passionate about has got industry publications. And in those industry publications, they tell you what companies are doing what, who heads up those companies, who's the source of financing for those companies. Everything you're ever going to want to know about an industry is in those industry publications. And through that, you can ferret out the who's behind the stuff that you need to accomplish what you want to do. You'll see there are certain companies there that are behind the fundraising in that industry. You'll find that there's certain people who time after time are the people who finance certain types of transactions. In those industry publications, you will see the companies that are leading the way. You'll see the thought leaders who the industry follows. You'll see the people who operate and run these companies, and especially the ones that are doing really well. And so that's your source of data for where to find these people. That's where they're at. Okay. They're also on websites that are the same industry related websites. There's, as you get deeper and deeper into an industry, you start to learn, where are all these people hiding? How do you find them? They're all there. And this is where you start. And the next item here is anywhere you can find information about the industry and its leaders. Okay. So anywhere that you can find it, as you start to know an industry really well, you can find it. For example, we have one of our members who's really interested in cars, right? Really likes exotic cars. He found that not only could he find people in LinkedIn that were in the automotive industry, not only could he find it in industry publications and on websites, but he joined a Ferrari club, then he joined a Porsche club, then he joined a Mercedes-Benz club, then he joined a Bentley club, then he joined a Rolls-Royce club. He's members of all these clubs. And he's connected to everybody who owns and loves those cars. Okay. So that's what we mean about any industry source that you can find. In different industries, there are different ways of connecting with all those folks. So once you've got your hands around, this is where to find them. All right. Now you got a database that you're building of those folks. Okay. You can do research through the internet, through LinkedIn. You can hook up with those people. So maybe if I didn't find them on LinkedIn, but I found them in an industry trade magazine, the name of a person who heads up a certain company, and I want to get connected to that person, I can go into LinkedIn and find them. I can find a place to message them. I can find ways and tools, ways to use the tools of LinkedIn to connect to that person. And will everyone respond to you? No, of course not. But they will be more likely to respond to you if you have the right message for them. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But right now, this is just where to find them. Okay. So now you know where they're hiding. You know how to dig them out. And this is the process that you use to literally have as much of a database as you'll need to put together everything that we're going to show you here as we move on. All right. So the next question is, how do you contact them? There's email. And then if you're using LinkedIn by message, they have a message program in there, especially if you have their more advanced program. That's the way that you're going to connect them. And research will produce for you those things. For example, let's say I want to contact a COO of a certain company. A lot of times I can go on their website and I can see their individual email account on there. They have the who's who of the company, right? You can find them that way. Okay. So now you've got their email. Okay. You can go through LinkedIn, find out, get connected through their message service. In other words, there's a way to contact these folks. And then here's what you're going to do. Because remember, you got two groups that you're seeking out. One is investors for your project, for your acquisition project. And the other is the talent. Okay. And this is the key. This is a big key right here. Okay. Because the investors, you're going to promise them something that they crave. Okay. Because if you're an investor and you're going to invest money in a business, who do you want to invest in? You want to invest in top talent. Because you know, if this is the top talent in the field, they're the guys who have the track record of success. They're the folks who, if you invest in them, they're the management. They're the ones who can take this to the moon for you. Okay. So they're the folks you want to invest in. So from the standpoint of those folks who we sought out who are investors, we're going to write to those investors and we're going to tell them that we have the top talent poised for a takeover of a high profile company. And you are looking for big money investor partners. But with the research you've already done, you're going to know that person that you wrote that to is somebody who invests in that industry. Okay. You're going to find that out where? From those industry publications. You're going to find it out from LinkedIn, their backgrounds, what their specialties are. The very big profiles on a lot of these people in LinkedIn. You can also, by the way, go into Facebook. A lot of these folks are on Facebook. They have their backgrounds and their profiles. All that stuff is on there. You're all a product of this information age. So you probably know this as well as I do, what resources are available out there to do these things. So anyway, you write the investor, right? And you're going to tell them about the top talent. And then you're going to write that top talent and you're going to tell them that you have big money investors poised for a takeover of a high profile company in that field that they like, or that they're talented in. And you are looking for the top talent partners. Now, every single one of those examples that I gave you in the beginning, some version of this took place. Okay. Let me give you an example. In the case of the healthcare company, our PIPA member researched the people who were recently retired CEOs of major healthcare and medical companies. And when you do that, anytime a member or a person who's the CEO or a COO of a big company like that, anytime they retire, the company makes a big deal out of that. They don't just obscurely retire. Okay. They're in publications in the industry. Someone CEO of this massive healthcare company just retired, and they may have a note about his replacement. But the point is, it's a big story. Okay. So now you know who they are. You go look them up on LinkedIn. Okay. Or you research LinkedIn and you put in there as part of your search, recently retired COOs, CEOs, healthcare companies, hospitals, whatever it is you're looking for, right? So you're going to get these people popping up. And guess what? That retired person who just ran this $4 billion company, all of a sudden they got nothing to do. And you'd be amazed at the number of these people who can't wait to get back in the game, but not have the day-to-day pressures that they used to have, where their information and knowledge is going to be respected. They're there and they're happy to become part of what you're doing. And they're not looking for big money right now either. They just want to, they're happy to be a part of it, have an equity piece in it, and have a relatively short path to compensation, meaning here's what we're going to do. And then once we get here, guys, here's how we're going to compensate you. Okay. And we compensate you with the first acquisition. And where are you going to get the money? Right out of that acquisition. So don't worry about it. It's going to come from the process. It's all in the process. All right. So we're going to write to investors. We're going to promise them the top talent. And that's how we attract the big money. And then we're going to write to the top talent. We're going to promise them the big investors. And that's how we're going to get the top talent involved, because at the end of the day, they want to be part of something that's going to be successful. And if you got big money behind it, they're going to want to be in. And they'll tolerate a lot of sacrifice on the front end in order to be part of the big picture, which they can afford to do because their retirement accounts are already paying their bills. And you don't have to worry about that. They're not in need of cash right now. What they want is an opportunity for another big win, an opportunity to be relevant, an opportunity to participate in something that's going to be fun for them because they're going to be dealing with other big guys. Now, we didn't invent this strategy, by the way. And one of the places that I became aware of when I was a teenager, where this strategy was used and very efficiently was, and I don't remember the exact talent, so if I misstate this, I apologize, but it was done in the movie industry where a promoter who was putting together a major feature film wanted to get a certain actor and he wanted to get another actress. And the two of them were, if he could get them on the same screen at the same time, he knew that the picture was going to be a smashing success. And these were actors who were the stars of Hollywood. They were the folks. And it was somebody like a Clark Gable and one of the top female actresses. And he also knew that these two people actually did want to work together. But what he did was he called the female actress and he says, look, I got Clark Gable. He's going to do the picture and he wants you to be here and be part of it. We want you to sign on to do this picture. Then he called Clark Gable and he says, we've got so-and-so signed on, the female actress, and she wants to work with you. And what we want you to do is to sign on to this picture so that the two of you can be together, and then he went on with the benefits of all of that. He didn't have either of their signatures, right? He started the whole thing. They didn't necessarily initiate this thing to work with each other. But what he did is he knew who he had to promise what to and who he had to promise the reverse to in order to bring the two elements that he needed together. And here's the same thing. Talent follows money. Who do the big money people want to invest in? Top talent. Who does the top talent want to work with? People with big money, because the two of them are what empower each other. And once you understand that concept, then you become the promoter of those two elements to bring them together. Now, what do you ask them? Okay, once you got them and you have a conversation with them. For the talent, the first question you're going to ask them is, are they happy where they're at? Okay, and most of them are not. Okay, you will not have a hard time finding disenchanted CEOs and COOs of significant companies, even that are still active, because invariably they're going to have an issue with one of these items. Okay, company politics, or it's the corporate culture. That's a logical question that you want to ask them. Are they happy where they're at? And if they're not, what's going on? For investors, you want to ask them, do you have an appetite for this industry? You want to make sure that these are the folks who already are predisposed to want to invest in this type of business. If you found an investor who only knows healthcare and you wanted to bring him onto investing in a jet charter company, that's not a good mix. Okay. But if he's a person who loves jets, invests in jets, has an interest in a leasing company who owns jets, then you're already at a place where this party knows about that stuff, is comfortable with that stuff, has an appetite to invest more of his money in that stuff. And so all you have to do is bring him something that makes sense in the field. And the chances are he's going to want to be part of it because he already is predisposed to be part of it. So you don't try to find investors who've never heard of your project before, or a type of project, or who don't know anything about the field you're going to go into, unless you're just looking for fools who don't know anything and who you can pull the wool over their eyes, which I don't recommend, by the way, because the whole idea of finding great investors is they make money with you and they keep reinvesting in you more and more of their money. So you want to use absolute integrity in this stuff, but you start out by finding that investor that has an appetite for that particular industry. And the next question you want to ask them is, can they contribute more than money? And here's what I mean by that. Do they have industry knowledge, connections to key customers, suppliers, lenders, top talent, acquisitions, other investors? If they just bring you money, that's a nice benefit. Nothing wrong with that. If you got to get your company funded, somebody who brings in money is good, but not nearly as good as somebody who brings in these other things too. And especially now that they're invested in your company, you see, they're going to unlock all those doors for you. So they become a really valuable resource. And the fact that you explored with them these additional assets that you were looking for in your investor will actually help you sell the investor on investing in your company, because they will see you as a person who is astute in how you build a business. they'll see that you understand that connections, the right suppliers, right lenders, access to new customers or more customers, other top talent in the business, other companies that can be acquired, they'll see you as a person who really knows what you're doing because you're already exploring all the areas that can be leveraged here with them to make your company more successful and their investment more valuable. Okay. So now you know what to ask your people, the real key questions that will help you unlock their support for what it is that you want them to do, what you want the talent to do, and what you want the money sources to do for you. All right. Next, what do you tell them? First of all, what you're going to tell them is, what is your expertise? What are you bringing to the party? Your expertise, you don't tell them necessarily that you're a student of Bizar financing, but your expertise is acquisition. Okay. That's what you're the expert in. You're not the expert in jet charter. You're not the expert in healthcare. You're not the expert in manufacturing. You're not the expert in any of those things. Your expertise is financial leverage, acquisition, bringing the right parties together to make things happen, structuring the deal in the right way so that it will be successful. Those are the kind of expertises you bring in. And then the next thing that you're going to tell them is you're going to promise the talent the money, and the money the talent. That's what you're going to do. You're going to show each of them how the other party is going to enrich their role in this by the fact that the money wants to invest in the talent and the talent wants to work with financing and money. And your job is to bring them together. Okay. You're going to sell them your plan. Now that means you got to have a plan, right? Okay. So if you're going into one of these fields, you know that money is not going to be a problem for you because you're going to go about it in a way that's going to be guaranteed to raise money. And you're going to have the top talent running the company. So the company is going to be successful. Now the question is, what's your plan to bring them together? And what is your plan for the growth of the company? So that when you plug your talent in, they know where you want to go. And now they're a part of how do you make it happen. And then when you bring your money in, they know where you want to go. They're comfortable with the talent. They're comfortable with the plan, and they want to back you. Okay. So those are the essential elements that have to come together. So that means, what do you have to have ready to do this? Okay. So you can't just decide, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do a money talent takeover. You can decide that tomorrow, but you can't do it tomorrow. So what do you need to do it? You need to get ready some things so that you can fully execute the basic strategy that I'm explaining to you here today. So that means you got to have a plan, and your plan should be a well thought through, very short. I'm talking 2 to 3 pages summary, which includes the target company or industry. So if you're going after a specific company, what is that company? Okay. And what's the plan to acquire it? If you're going into an industry, what's your plan for that, for acquisitions, and how you're going to grow the business by acquisition in that industry? Explain your strategy, the structure that you're going to use to do it. We're going to form a company and a corporation, and it's going to have these parties in it, and they're going to be partners, and the investors are going to own so much, and top talent's going to own so much. So you're going to have the whole structure laid out, and you're going to show each person how they win. Okay. If you put up your money, here's the company we're going to acquire. Here's what they look like financially. And when you put up your money, because we're going to leverage your equity to borrow X amount of dollars at this interest rate, because we're leveraging that money and against these earnings that the company's achieving or that we're projecting, then when you put your investment in, we're going to give you a return on your investment of, and I'm making this number up, 20% compound annual growth. Okay. So every year for the next 3 to 5 years, because after that, we're going to sell or go public, and that everybody's going to get out. So for the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to earn money at a compound annual growth rate of 25% on your money. So now you're showing everybody where they're going to win. Okay. The executives or the team of top talent, how are they going to win? They're going to have money to back their deal. And remember all those things that we said about them, the corporate politics, all the reasons that they weren't happy. They get to solve all those problems of the reason they weren't happy. They get to come here with a lot of money behind them. They have their independent, they have this, whatever it was that their need to make them happy. They're going to get that. You're going to show them how they're going to get that. And then you're going to show how the money people are going to win because the top talent can deliver this plan that you've got here. Okay. Now, where are you getting all your credibility from to do this? Because I know what you're thinking. Gee, if I do this, I don't have any credibility with these people. Why are they going to do this with me? Because you don't matter. What you're selling to the money people is the top talent. They have that credibility. So if I'm the money guy and I see you're bringing in this top talent, that gives you credibility because you're bringing in credibility. If you're the top talent and you're bringing in these incredible big investor money people, it's not your credibility anymore. It's the credibility of the money. So you're borrowing the talent's credibility to attract the money, and you're borrowing the money's credibility to attract the talent. And I'm not saying you don't matter. Okay. So hopefully you get that. Okay. What else do you have to have ready? You got to have your tools ready. Okay. What tools are we talking about? You got the relevant Bizar financing downloadable templates of documents Every type of document you need to do this is in our library of documents. You need the Excel worksheets that are the kind of the pro forma, the doable deal analyzer, and the business price calculator. So you got all these tools that we have available for you to just download. They're all in the training videos. So you've got all these tools. You identify them well in advance. This is what I need to get this done. Okay, so now you got your plan, you got your tools, you know exactly how you're going to be able to demonstrate all of this to everybody. So if I want to demonstrate to the investor what the return he's going to make, right? I want to do it with a pro forma. Now, the next thing you have to have ready is your self-confidence. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe you can do this. And the only way I know to do it for a first time is to make sure your plan is solid and your tools are solid and that you've recruited the right people. And as you start getting people saying yes to you, as you start getting top talent taking you seriously and realizing, gee, this is a company that really can work for me. And the same thing with the investors. So as you start to get these people saying yes to you, you're going to find your self-confidence builds pretty quickly and that you start to realize, yes, I really can do this. Now, to get to that place, it means it's a little scary, I know, because you got to start, right? And starting is always the hard part. If you go through that part of the workbook in section A1 through A3, we talk about how to build up your self-confidence to give you the launch pad to do this. And then with a little bit of success, as you start to achieve it, you'll find the rest of your confidence just fills right in. So Bizar Financing Pro sections A1 through A3, the psychology of business success, think of that as part of your tools. It's part of how you're going to build up your own self-confidence to be able to do this. And then the next item is your cosmic bond building ability. And now you've heard me talk about that a bazillion times in Bizar Financing. All these transactions that I've ever shared with you, yeah, there's a financial component. Yeah, there's a business component. Yeah, there's a structural component. But at the end of the day, it's two people talking to each other and one convincing another to do something. And your ability to do that is based on the cosmic bond that you build with them. And so people do business with people they like, trust, and respect. And so your job in putting this together is to take all these people you're going to connect with and to build cosmic bond with them, to bring them to where you and they like each other, trust each other, and respect each other. All those things are mutual. One of the maxims of business that I want you to remember in this process, business is not about numbers and all that stuff. Yeah, it is sort of, but it's really about people. Okay. That's why the psychology of business success is so important, because people have what you want and they will give it to you if you give them what they want. Okay. It's not a hard thing to understand. It's the whole basis of mutual exchange. I'd like to take a moment here and explain why this works. Most people believe that they can succeed if they have the right partners. Okay. So everybody in your context here is going to look at the people around them and they're going to believe they have the right partners. The talent believes that they can succeed if they have the money behind them. That's what talent believes. The investors may already know about your top talent and believe management talent with track record will triumph. Okay. That's what investors believe. They believe that. You don't have to convince them of that. They already believe that. You create your credibility by leveraging the credibility of your top talent and big money investors. Everybody is going to eventually be around this table looking at each other as potential partners in this deal, and they're all going to want each other. Neither the investor nor the talent is an expert in Bizar Financing, nor are they in a position to organize the process. So what you're bringing to the party is the ability to organize this process. You're the instigator of all this. They wouldn't be sitting around this table if it wasn't for you. They wouldn't be even considering being around this table for you if you hadn't convinced them with your plan that you know what you're doing and that you can take this to the promised land. And they all know they can play their part. In the fact that you brought them to the table, they impute you can do your part too. Virtually all people respond positively to an opportunity in a field which they have an interest and expertise. All right. You don't have to sell anybody on the field because if you selected the people right, they already have a propensity to do what you're asking them to do. Everyone is harmonized on the same frequency and their interest will grow as they learn more about each other and the specific target. And the deeper they get into it, they'll be selling themselves. You don't have to sell them anything. Now, if any of this makes sense to you, what I'd like to encourage you to do is to contact our team, because we have a program where we will literally do all of this for you. So you don't have to think it through on your own. You don't have to go through all the steps and the methods. What we will do is we will actually get it done for you. So if this makes sense, just go to the description below this video and follow the instructions. It'll put you in touch with one of our team members. And from there on, we'll answer your questions and hopefully we'll work together as partners and we'll get it done for you.